demand further investigation and forensic analysis in the case against Alexander Alec Ray Baldwin III. Consequently, we cannot proceed under the current time constraints and on the facts and evidence turned over by law enforcement in its existing form. We therefore will be dismissing the involuntary manslaughter charges against Mr. Baldwin to conduct further investigation. The decision does not absolve Mr. Baldwin of criminal culpability, and charges may be refiled. Our follow-up investigation will remain active and ongoing. Charges against Hannah Gutierrez remain unchanged. No further statements at this time. There you have it. Charges dropped. So that trial, that case, off the docket for now. We'll see what this further investigation reveals. We're going to break this all down with our think tank in just a minute. But first, let's get to what's happening out in Idaho, a case that is continuing. Day 8 now for Lori Vallow Daybell. It's not a death penalty case anymore. Remember, the judge tossed the death penalty just like he tossed the cameras out of the courtroom. David Warwick testified. David Warwick, significant witness. This is Melanie Gibbs' husband now. At the time that JJ was murdered, it was Melanie Gibbs' boyfriend. And he went with Melanie Gibb to Lori's house in East Idaho. He was there the weekend that everyone believes JJ was murdered. And he observed a lot of things. He observed Lori with a married man named Chad Daybell, and also observed JJ and Lori and Alex Cox. Take a listen.
During the times you saw Chad, what was his interactions like with Lori Vallow?
They were really loving with one another and affectionate.
Okay. Now, at this time, were you aware that he was still married to Tammy Daybell?
Yes.
Okay. Did the fact that he was married come up at all?
Yes.
All right. How did that happen?
I asked him I just asked him how his marriage was with the Tammy and if she was a good wife, and he said he had no complaints, that she was a good wife, but he said her time was coming up, and that him and Lori were gonna, go do the things that they had committed to do for God.
Okay. So when you say her time was coming up, your Tammy's time was...
He said he had a dream that she was going to pass away before he was 50 or by the time he was 50.
When you woke up the next morning, did you see JJ that morning?
I did not.
Okay. Did you make any inquiries about JJ?
Yes, I did. We went downstairs to say goodbye, and Lori was there, and she just said that JJ had an episode, and he climbed up on the cabinets, and then he climbed up on top of the fridge, and then he climbed up on top of the upper cabinets and knocked over her picture of Christ. And she just said that he was out of, she couldn't control him.
So what did she say she did?
She called Alex and had Alex come and get him.
Okay. So when she said she had Alex take JJ, what did you do?
Well, before she told me that Alex took JJ, I said, well, I'd like to see him because I wanted to make sure he was okay.
Why?
Well, because I didn't see any signs of the cabinets. There was no damage on the cabinets. There was no scuffs on the stainless steel fridge. And I just was trying to understand what was going on here. But also, if JJ did have a problem, I'd like to give him a blessing.
Fascinating insight. Fascinating. We're going to get more fascinating insight. Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter joining us live from outside the courthouse in Boise tonight. Chanley, you were in the courtroom for David Warwick's testimony. Explain to us how this unfolded in the courtroom today.
Well, like you said, Vinny, he's a key witness. And as soon as he began talking, jurors put pen to paper. They take copious notes really a lot of the time. But they know when someone like this is talking about personal firsthand experiences with Lori Vallow Daybell, the last person, one of the last people to see J.J. Vallow alive. So a lot of notes leaning in and listening to him testify. Vinny, Lori dressed in light baby blue blouse, ruffle blouse today with a black sweater on. She looked serious. She had her glasses on. She would whisper to her attorneys. She takes notes, Vinny, on this yellow legal pad. And then at the end or the beginning of the day, she'll tear off and she'll put these pieces of paper inside a manila envelope to take with her, I guess, back to the jail. I don't know if she can take the whole notebook. I guess she can't take everything, so she tears them off. It's kind of odd, but she was also pretty upbeat, her normal kind of chatty self and then serious self, but during his testimony, there really wasn't anything too overt from her.
Now, David Warwick almost didn't testify in this case, and he's such an important witness.
Right, and it was so key in Chad Daybell's preliminary hearing. We watched that unfold. And today, before the jury was brought in, after the mid-morning break, the judge did put on the record that there had been a violation of his exclusionary rule, Vinny. So any witness under subpoena that will testify in this case cannot watch the trial unfold or any testimony before they take the stand so that their testimony is not tainted by hearing other people. Well, David Warwick was put before just the judge and the parties and asked about what he did see and hear. He actually admitted to watching about 45 minutes of his wife, Melanie Gibbs' testimony when she testified in this court. And he blamed it on the fact that he was very ill. He was on antibiotics. He wasn't thinking clearly, and once he realized what he was doing, he immediately stopped. And it was intense back and forth between the defense wanting his testimony excluded because for violation, and the prosecutor saying, look, Judge, there's really no harm done. He admits that he didn't learn anything new. It's nothing that's going to change what he says today. Ultimately, Vinny, the judge said that he didn't find any reason to keep him from testifying, but if the defense wanted to cross-examine him on his non-compliance of a court order, they could certainly go down that path.
So let's talk about that cross-examination of David Warwick. Did the defense go in that direction?
They did not go in that direction. Interestingly, Vinny, they went into a similar direction. They went with Zulema Pastenes, in that David Warwick is someone who possibly shared some of these same extreme beliefs, especially what Chad was teaching the weekend that he was in Rexburg, Idaho. In fact, David Warwick himself, according to the defense on cross, calls himself a visionary man, that he's a person that has visions about the end times. He speaks about them at conferences, and he also does a lot of podcasts about them. So over prosecution objection, the defense went down a line of questioning about, did you not have a vision about the U.S. being invaded by China and Russia? He admits that. Did you have a vision about the U.S. being sacrificed as for a one world government? And he kind of has this long pause and says, I don't think I ever said that. And the defense attorney goes, well, I'm not just standing here making it up. And he kind of looks at the jury, and in that moment, Vinny, Lori Vallow smirks, gives a little laugh, like at the defense counsel table, and her defense attorney continues down that line of questioning, and he said it goes to the credibility. The judge allowed that, and then there's also this insinuation about him and Melanie being together before one or the other was divorced, trying to paint that, but of course David Warwick clearly denied anything like that.
So undermining the credibility of this witness by saying that he's having an extramarital affair with someone that he married. Huh, who else did that? Oh yeah, his client. Undermining the credibility of the witness because he's having visions. Huh, who else had that? Oh, Lori's new husband. I mean, it's interesting. We'll see what the jury does with all this. Another fascinating twist to all of this. Like, so no one's credible? Like, what? What does this mean? Chanley Painter, thank you so much. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Thanks,
let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight in Atlanta, Georgia, criminal defense attorney Eklund Mercy. Also with us in Phoenix, Arizona, the attorney who represented Jodi Arias, Kirk Nurmi, and in Washington, D.C., the attorney who represented Johnny Depp in his defamation case. And he's also a fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers, Ben Chew. Welcome, everyone. Oh, where do I start? Why don't I start here? Kirk Nurmi, I'll start with you first. And Chandler reported this that again today, Lori Daybell, who prides herself on her beauty and her appearance, right? And I've never seen a picture of her anywhere wearing glasses except in a courtroom. What is it with female defendants who are attractive, who end up accused of murder, all of a sudden donning glasses in courtrooms when they never wore them in the outside world?
Geez, Vinny, I can't figure out why you're asking me that question, but let me tell you, the jail facilities don't maybe always lend themselves to contacts, what have you. So people have to do the best that they can with what is available to them in jail. So I think that's really probably the main culprit here. Certainly, Ms. Vallow may have ideas of wanting to present herself looking smarter, looking more in control, that sort of thing. So there's that kind of mixture there, but I think it really has to do with what's available at the jail, Vinny.
Okay, all right. You sold me a little bit. Now, Eckler Mercy, this is a conspiracy charge, right, for the murder of little JJ. JJ's out of control. She makes the call to Alex. The prosecution theory is that Alex is the one who then murders JJ. Is that enough of a connection right there? That act by Lori. He's acted out. Let me get Alex on the phone, get him over here, take care of JJ.
Yeah, they need a little bit more. I think that they need to really connect their beliefs and how strongly she felt about it and how Alex may have also felt about it, to the point that the only option available is to hurt JJ. So I think that they do need a little bit more, and I think that the belief system is kind of relevant here because it goes to motive and it goes to the reason why it happened.
Ben, we heard Chanley tell us about David Warwick's testimony and how Chad was telling everyone about his dream about, I don't understand how you call it a dream that your wife dies, right? The mother of your children dies. That's somehow a dream, not a nightmare. But anyway, he's having this dream. Do you think he shared that dream with his wife so at least she got a little heads up that she was going to die?
Yeah, I think that's really incriminating. And my perception of David Warwick's testimony, notwithstanding whether he had his own idiosyncrasies and his visions, was very credible. He came across as an almost reluctant witness. I mean, his demeanor was very credible, very matter of fact. And I think this is really bad news for Lori Vallow. And I agree with Eklund that they need to do a little more on motive, but I'm not sure they do it through this particular witness. But this particular witness, I think, advanced the prosecution's case materially.
Kirk, what do you think of that attack on Warwick? And there was a similar attack on Melanie Gibb, that she has all these strange beliefs. I mean, his client, the one on trial, is the one who has all these strange beliefs, Kirk.
You know, I would look at it a different way, Vinny. I would look at it that they're not trying to attack the credibility of that particular witness, but what they're trying to do is show Chad as the leader, right? We have this conspiracy charge. So the more you want to back away Lori from being the head of this, the better. So I think it's kind of a subtle look at all these followers Chad had, and Lori was just one of those. She was not the head of the monster. She was not the head of the snake. She was the body. And I think that's what they're trying to do in terms of this conspiracy charge.
Eklund, how much, what do you think the jury does with this when you've got important testimony coming from people who shared beliefs with Lori and Chad to a certain degree? I think they kind of drew the line at zombies, but they share a lot of the same beliefs.
Yeah, this is the part in which why juries are so important. They talk about, hey, what do you feel about this? They have the conversations. They bring up family members. They bring up what happened in their lives. They bring up, okay, well, do you have somebody who's deeply religious and did something out of the ordinary? Do you know of anybody who has gone on the deep end? So this is the time in which the jury really goes back into that room and really discuss what do they believe is reasonable, and what could push somebody to do something so heinous. So I think that it's going to be a conversation, but the notes that they took will come in handy.
Absolutely. All right, Eklund Mercy, Kirk Nurmi, Ben Chew staying with us the whole hour. Up next. There is an enormous religious undertone to this entire trial. Lori and Chad met as members of the LDS Church, and it's the most prevalent religion in Idaho. How will all of this impact the jury?
Or the notion of ridding the world of evil people, that's not the object in Latter-day Saint.
It's a mystery that's captivated the nation.
This stretches just so beyond what anyone could imagine.
And left a trail of dead bodies.
Lori Vallow Daybell,
accused of triple murder, including her 2 youngest children.
You'll hear every dramatic moment.
Money, power, and sex. That's what this case is about.
Just tell the truth. It's that simple.
The Doomsday Cult Mom Murder Trial. Coverage continues weekday mornings only on Court TV.
So it was an interview with Lori's cousin that wasn't, I don't believe it was just an interview that the reporter did independently, not involving this proceeding.
Okay. And that interview was not about this trial itself or witness testimony?
No, it was not.
Okay. I haven't watched the whole thing. Was there anything in that interview by Mr. Lum of the defendant's cousin talking about the evidence in this trial occurring now in Boise?
Honestly, I didn't complete the entire interview. I saw maybe 2 minutes of it. I didn't watch the whole interview. So what I saw did not have anything to do with what's been happening. And with clarification from you and your team, I understood that it really didn't have anything to do with the exclusionary clause.
You scrolled down to read the comments about the article.
Yes.
What were the comments saying?
I mean, in general, it was about the LDS Church's influence on the proceedings.
That was April Raymond being questioned outside the presence of the jury about an interview that reporter Justin Lum from Fox 10 in Phoenix did with Lori Vallow Daybell's cousin, Megan Eden. In the interview, Megan expresses concerns about Lori's religious beliefs and the influence of the LDS Church that they have over the trial that is happening right now.
I've been really troubled by, hearing that the church sent letters to all the members in Idaho telling them not to get involved in legal proceedings. And then the hand that they've had in keeping cameras out of the courtroom because they don't want to be associated with this. The church is this huge worldwide multi-$100 billion corporation, and they have a lot of power and influence. And I really think that they teach a lot of harmful things, and there is a very harmful culture there. And when you mix it with people who desire power and influence, it just is incredibly toxic.
That's Lori Daybell's cousin. And there she is talking about the role or the influence of the LDS Church over this case. And I've seen that letter as well. There was a letter, and it seemed like the church was trying to get members to stay away from this case. And then the case got moved out of eastern Idaho, and the cameras got pushed out, and Lori's cousin thinks that perhaps it was the LDS Church that had some influence in all of that. One of the prosecutors, at least one of the prosecutors, member of the LDS, judge is a member of the LDS. I don't know if that had any influence. I would hope that it had no influence. A church should not be influencing anything inside a courtroom, so I will believe that it did not impact the decision on whether cameras should be in there. That would be pretty outrageous. But it did seem like the church was trying to impact what was happening with this case. Because I did read the letter. Let's bring back in our guests, Eklund Mercy, Kirk Nurmi, Ben Chew. this is really a dicey situation. But you look at the trial as a whole, Ben. You can't get religion out of it. You're not getting the LDS Church out of this case, because this is how Lori and Chad met. And yes, Chad got excommunicated from the church, but this was the basis of their relationship and how things started, and how bodies started piling up. A lot of the references, the writings of Chad Daybell, all connecting and referencing the LDS Church. So what are your thoughts about this? Do you think it's even possible that a church could influence anything related to a proceeding in a case, whether it's an investigation on who's coming forward to give information, versus whether cameras are in there, versus what the charges are, or anything else?
Vinny, I have a hard time that the judge would be affected by his own religion or would let that have an impact on him in any way. And I agree with you that the prosecution can't ignore the religious aspects of it, but I think they need to focus on the bottom line here and debunk the idea that Chad's involvement somehow absolves Lori of responsibility. And get back to basics, something that any juror, male or female, would understand is it is Lori's responsibility as the mother of these two children to take care of them, and to take care of them over and above any romantic relationship she may be involved in. And it's wildly unnatural, the idea that a woman would allow her children to be taken and murdered, for the alleged sin of knocking something over. And I think that's what the prosecution should continue to focus on: the death of these two children, the only innocent people among a group of truly unappealing, reprehensible human beings.
Let me ask you, Kirk, what do you think the impact is of the strong religious aspects and tones and themes in this trial that the jury's hearing? How does it impact them, or doesn't it?
Well, it's hard to say, Vinny, but when you have that kind of population, certainly this is something I dealt with in Arias, right? It was a lot of LDS involvement, what have you. But when it comes down to it, the jury is going to be, if voir dire is done properly, the jury is going to be cleansed of any bias in that regard. Now, certainly the court of public opinion, I think, in that community would strongly condemn both Chad and Lori for distorting the dictates of the religion. I mean, I'm not LDS. Most people that I know that are LDS are great, outstanding people, and they do not appreciate this kind of distortion of their religion. So I think while they may be sanitized to it, it's certainly not going to help Lori and Chad that they chose to distort this religion to further their ends, whatever those ends turn out to be.
And Eklund, that's part of, I think, what is alleged here, is that the distortion of the religion, if it plays out in a story that becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, it's bad PR for the church, like really bad PR for the church. So they want to disassociate, they want it buried. And there was a point where letters were sent out where it seems like they were trying to get people to just stay away and not get involved in this case at all.
Yeah, this is bad, because I think that we like to compartmentalize our lives, and we like to keep religion here and our jobs here and what we're supposed to ask here. But remember, we're still here. We have the pandemic here. We still have elections. We have all types of things that are happening in our society, and people are really gravitating more towards faith. And if you have a case, or you're put in a position in which a community shares the same faith, and you're going to essentially use the case to kamikaze it for your own, for your innocence, it's easy to say that people can be impartial, but it's really hard to do. And it's necessary if you're using, it's necessary if the facts of your religion is going to be a part of a defense for a defendant. So I think that the case is it's very sensitive, but the stuff has to come in. Daybell Lori Vallow Daybell does deserve justice. She deserves a competent defense. And the only way I see it is by essentially dissecting the religion. The reason why is if they're distorting it so much, then why didn't anybody say anything early on?
And you know what, Ben? It was the defense who wanted this case moved. And one of the reasons I believe they wanted it moved was you go from eastern Idaho to Boise, you have reduced the probability of the number of LDS members in the jury.
Yeah, that makes sense, but I think at the end of the day, it's not gonna help her, because I think the prosecution is going to stick to the facts, which transcend these religious issues, I believe.
All right, folks, we got a big one coming up next. Don't go anywhere. On the docket tonight in Santa Fe, New Mexico, big breaking news in the Alec Baldwin shooting case. Charges dropped against the A-list celebrity. Is this a double standard for actors, or can anyone fire a gun at anyone if someone tells them that the gun isn't loaded?
That private investigator, as you probably know, did not have a difficult time accessing the staff of the sheriff's department. And that person told us, quote unquote, "We've known in the department since January that Alec would not be charged with a crime."
There was pounding on the door, bang, bang, bang.
He said that we'd seen his face and there was no way that he could ever let us go.
I survived because I'm a born fighter.
I Survived, tonight, 10/9 Central on Court TV.
Everyday people accused of the unthinkable, caught up in a conspiracy to commit murder.
Bonanza Creek Ranch has had 2 people accidentally shot on a movie set by a prop gun. Was it loaded with a real bullet or what? I cannot tell you that.
So you tell me what to do. You tell me what to do. Just
We would appreciate that, and then we'll...
when do you want me to do that?
We're going to probably go right now.
Well, there were 3 firearms that were located on the set within close proximity to the incident.
You have the right to stop questioning at any time or stop questioning for the purpose of consulting a lawyer.
So my only question is, am I being charged with something?
That question tonight now lingering in the air. Unbelievable development in the Alec Baldwin shooting case. This is a very polarizing case. Every time we do this story, there are people screaming at the top of their lungs like, why? He should not be charged. This was an accident. It was the armorer. It was the armorer. And then other people are saying, how would you not charge him? How could you not charge him? So there's a lot of gray area happening right now, because tonight the big story is that the new special prosecutors on the case have dropped the charges. The new special prosecutors. Here's their official statement. I'm going to read it for you. Over the last few days and in preparation for the May 3rd, 2023 preliminary hearing, new facts were revealed that demand further investigation and forensic analysis in the case against Alexander Alec Ray Baldwin III. Consequently, we cannot proceed under the current time constraints and on the facts and evidence turned over by law enforcement in its existing form. We therefore will be dismissing the involuntary manslaughter charges against Mr. Baldwin to conduct further investigation. The decision does not absolve Mr. Baldwin of criminal culpability, and charges may be refiled. Our follow-up investigation will remain active and ongoing. Charges against Hannah Gutierrez remain unchanged. She was the armorer on the set. So is this just kind of like, all right, it's just like one step closer to the whole thing just going away? And I'm wondering tonight, is there some sort of double standard out there? Is there one standard for everyone else and another standard for actors? Or can anyone now who is handed a gun by someone who tells you, oh, don't worry, it's not loaded, can you now take that gun and point it and squeeze the trigger wherever you want and not have to worry about being charged with a crime? Or is there a different standard for actors? Because I've had people on the show tell me that there is a different standard for actors. Oh, he's an actor. He's an actor. It's a prop. No, a prop does not shoot and kill somebody. A real gun does. It was a real gun. So what does this all mean? Need some help. Let's bring back in our think tank. Eklund Mercy, Kirk Nurmi, Ben Chew back with us. Eklund, double standard? Is this just the writing on the wall that this thing's never going to happen? Where are we tonight?
It's not going to happen. He's unfortunately, we have a rich white man. And
oh boy, you know what you just did, Eklund? Now I'm going to get 4,000 direct messages every week. Every week when you bring it up, the color of the skin of the person who is either not being found guilty or charges being dismissed. Now I got to deal with it all week. Explain.
Because he's not being found guilty and the charges are being dismissed, so it's relevant. He's not. It was a shock in the beginning.
So are you telling me if this was Denzel Washington, there would be charges?
Absolutely.
Okay. Kirk, do you agree? Denzel gets charged, but Alec Baldwin wouldn't?
I do not, Vinny, not at all, because I think these are very specific set of circumstances here. And you want to pin it on him being an actor, but think about the reality here. They have trained professionals, not just anyone. It's not if I hand you the gun and say, hey, Vinny, it's not loaded, don't worry about it. But
the gun was not handed to him by a trained professional. It was an assistant director. He knows, who knows about as much about guns as I do. It was the assistant director who handed him the gun.
Why is Hannah Gutierrez still charged? Because she's the armor and she's the professional in charge of making sure that that gun is not loaded. I mean, think about it. If you take your car to the mechanic and you say, hey, my brakes are bad, and he tells you it's fixed, you go out, you hit somebody, are you culpable? No, it's not a perfect analogy, but it illustrates the reality that he had a professional went through all these steps, had a professional do it, and it became an accident. It's a tragic accident. It's sad. Whether it's Denzel or Alec, I think there's no difference. I think in this particular set of circumstances, the charges were properly dropped. I said it a few weeks ago on this show, Vinny. The prosecution peaked at the press conference. That was it. It's all downhill from there, and we're never going to see him charged again.
Ben Chew.
I don't think we should be so quick to dismiss Eklund's thesis that race played a part of this. The only pushback I would have is he was charged originally. So that does suggest that they were looking at him irrespective of his status. But this may be a situation where civil liability might be more appropriate. He was apparently told that the gun was safe, and then to charge him with a crime seems a little much. I'm in that school of thought, but that should not necessarily preclude him being held responsible. Remember, he was also a producer of the film. So
and there were also two other incidents on this film set of live rounds being shot. 2 prior incidents of live rounds.
And I believe he may be held liable under respondeat superior as the producer and as the employer of the armorer and others who may have been negligent. So I'm not trying to let him off the hook, but I'm just saying this may be an area where civil liability might be more appropriate.
Let me ask you, Kirk, who else can be handed a gun, not check it, and squeeze the trigger while pointing it at someone and not be committing a crime?
Well, maybe a cop or an actor, Vinny.
A cop? Like Kim Potter with her taser?
Yeah, I mean, look, Kim Potter was convicted. Certainly, I don't think that was appropriate. But I think in this particular situation, again, all these hurdles, and Ben's right, it's a civil liability issue. All these hurdles went through it, and ultimately, it's an accident. It's a tragic accident. It's for the civil courts. It's not for the criminal courts.
How about Will Smith, Eklund?
Would
he get charged
I don't
too?
change. Yes, he will. I think that they would get charged initially, and then charges would be dropped. Just like Alec Baldwin wasn't charged initially. Remember, he wasn't charged initially. Then we had the prosecutor who did the press conference, and then she did that whole thing, and then he was charged, and now it's dropped. I do believe that if it was anybody else, they would have been charged initially.
All right.
Off the gate.
All right. I wonder if it's going to be hundreds of direct messages or maybe just dozens this time. We shall see. Eklund, you do it to me every week. Every week I get the brunt of it. I get the brunt of it. All right. We've got a quick programming note tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern, folks, a special edition of I Survived. Today marks 24 years since the Columbine rampage. Tonight's episode features the powerful story of 2 survivors. Make sure you watch that coming up after the program tonight at 10. Up next. In tonight's Tank Takes, many around the country celebrating 420. So are officers in New Cumberland, Pennsylvania, offering a family-sized bag of Doritos to anyone who turns in their dealer. Tonight, we're asking, if you turn in your dealer, will you really need a family-sized bag of Doritos?
There was pounding on the door. Bang, bang, bang.
He said that we'd seen his face and there was no way that he could ever let us go.
I survived because I'm a born fighter.
I Survived. Next on Court TV.
It's a love triangle that turned tragic.
Now, one man is dead, one is facing a jury, and the woman in the middle is planning to take the stand.
The roommate romance murder trial. Live coverage begins Monday morning, only on Court TV.
Welcome back, folks. Time for our Tank Takes, where we take a look at some of the stories off the beaten path of crime and justice. Eklund, Mercy, Kirk Nurmi, Ben Chew still with us, our think tank. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Ready to rock and roll, Vinny.
Here we go. Let's get to our first one.
Absolutely.
Calling this one Happy 420. Some people may have no idea what we're talking about. That would be a good thing. All right, so in Pennsylvania, the New Cumberland Police Department is offering special services today in support of their cannabis-loving community here on April 20th. They stated they are willing to check any product that residents bring by to make sure it's not laced with anything. And in exchange, you'll get a regular-sized bag of Doritos. However, if you turn in your dealer today, you get a family size bag of Doritos. So, Eklund, Mercy, I've got to ask you, if you turn in your dealer, do you really need the family size bag of Doritos?
No, and I don't think that people will breach loyalty with their dealer for a family size bag of Doritos. I'm not a fan of entrapment, and I feel that even though it's Doritos, I feel like there's other ways to get people to to stop that.
You're a suspect of the police here. Kirk Nurmi, what are your thoughts here about the Doritos?
You know what's better than free Doritos? Legalization of marijuana. You don't have to have a dealer. It's safe, it's clean, and the state budget goes up, according to the Pennsylvania governor who wants to legalize it, $180 million. Maybe you'll have less taxes. You can go buy your own Doritos. So maybe the cops should worry about other things rather than Doritos and marijuana, and nobody commits crime on marijuana.
Ben Chew, do you want in on the 420 discussion?
Yes, Vinny, I think if you really want people to rat out their dealers, you should offer them Cheetos, not Doritos.
Bingo. All right, let's get to our next story. Speaking of food, we've got a serving of dominatrix cheesecake. What? Okay. A woman from Russia, Russian-born, but here in the United States, a dominatrix, tried to poison her doppelganger friend with a piece of poisoned cheesecake. All right. And then she was in court screaming some curses at the judge as she was let out. All right, Kirk Nurmi, I've got the dominatrix and I've got the doppelganger. Which one is the dominatrix? Number 1 or number 2, Kirk?
Vinny, I've been married for almost 30 years. You know what that means? I can sense a trap when I see it. So I'm not guessing because I got a 50% chance of being right. And the best answer is I don't know what a dominatrix looks like, Vinny.
Ben Chew, number 1 or number 2? Who's the dominatrix?
No question, number 1.
All right. And Eckler Mercy, do you agree?
Number 2.
Number 2? Well, Ben Chew was able to spot the dominatrix tonight. Congratulations, you win a bag of Cheetos. There we go. All right. And we finish up tonight with our last story. We're calling this one Double BM. Someone had a bowel movement at the Boston Marathon. So you see B, Boston Marathon, bowel movement. We've got the video. Take a look. A video of this incident captured on the homeowner's Nest doorbell. In it, we see a rather awkward encounter where the runner is confronted during the act of relieving himself. This is courtesy of the Babs on the Mic Twitter page, an account dedicated to everything Boston sports. We have the footage. Here he goes. And here. Yep, there he is off to the side, pulling up his pants now, getting ready to go back in the marathon. Yikes. All right, really quickly, Ben Chew, whose grumpy was worse, Amber Heard's or the Boston Marathon runners?
Oh my God, I can't believe it.
That's so terrible.
I would say Amber had to be worse.
All right, there you have it. All right, Eckler Mercy, Kirk Nervy, Ben Chew. Fantastic. I made Ben laugh. I can take the rest of the night off. We'll be right back. Before we go tonight, we have a missing child who needs your help. Please take a